Welcome to the Mixology Talk podcast.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Julia, and we're the folks behind abarabove.com, the ultimate resource for craft bartenders, bar operators, and just about anybody else looking to make great craft drinks.
I'm a bar consultant with more than 10 years of industry experience.
And I run abarabove.com, bringing weekly articles and cocktail recipes to help you make great drinks and grow your career behind the bar.
This is episode number 105 of Mixology Talk podcast, and this week we're interviewing Enrique Sanchez, talking about hospitality and how we can bring up our hospitality game to the next level. So stay tuned. So thank you very much. We have a special guest here. His name is Enrique Sanchez. And Enrique, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. And if I'm not mistaken, you are in beautiful San Francisco right now.
Yeah, it's actually very beautiful. I was listening to the weather, and it's going to be pretty hot this week, and looking forward for going for a bike ride. Why not?
Oh, nice, man. No, that sounds beautiful. We don't get many days like that in the Bay Area, but when we get them, man, everyone goes out like crazy.
I know, that's crazy. I mean, sun comes out, and everybody takes lighting clothing and just go out and get some sun and get some vitamins in your skin, for sure.
Where do you work at now?
I would say I'm lucky enough to work in two badass places. I work as a bar manager at Arguello restaurant in the Presidio. It's actually a Mexican restaurant. Chef is Tracy Desjardins. And we focus on agave spirits, which is actually, I'm Peruvian, but I gotta say, man, I love my tequila and my mezcal. So I feel really happy to work there, especially for such an amazing chef. And I work a couple of shifts a week at this, I think is the best bar in the city, ABV. So I love those guys. I know Ryan Fitzgerald for years. He and I, we used to work up a car and Tres Agaves and Beretta. And when he opened his bar, it was kind of like a no-brainer. I was like, duh, I'm going to work for you, dude, totally. And then the team there is pretty dope. So it's nice and it's fun. And it's amazing to work for them. So like I said, I'm lucky to work in two badass places right now in the city.
Yeah, man. I hear ABV come up almost weekly. You guys are doing a great job down there. And I think pretty much in the running for every major award there is in the cocktail industry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not like, we were talking with Ryan. It's not like, okay, we got to win this, we got to win that. No, dude, we just do our thing, and the awards kind of like just comes to us, and I'm like, we're not be mad at it. We take it. I mean, best bar team, best American bar. I mean, sure, when we take those.
Damn right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, once we see these awards and we turn around in the team, it's like, dude, we have a badass team. Hell yeah, we're supposed to win. Hell yeah, we deserve it. We're killing it. But at the same time, people come and have really high expectations. So we can't just relax too much. We got to keep working harder even.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about ABV and kind of the point of our interview here today is your sense of hospitality in there. You walk into ABV a few times that I've been there, and it feels like going home. It's a greet right at the beginning, and the bar is sitting right up front. And the drinks are great, and the food is fantastic, and it's a cool neighborhood, too.
Totally. I mean, it's the heart of the mission, 16 and Valencia is being, like, for years, the heart, the busiest is the corner in the city. Of course, when Beretta opened it on 23rd and Valencia, we were like, ooh, that's too far. But everything is expanding, so now you have the Owl's Place on 25th and Valencia, which is a super dope restaurant. So it's like everybody is extending around, but the heart is still the 16 in Valencia. And when the ABV team opened the bar, and we're like, holy shit, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be intense. It's going to be crazy people walking out too. It's a little bit of everything. But like you say, that's what we try to do at ABV. Just feel like home and walk in and like I said, you have your menu right there, and we give you a glass of water, and just sit down anywhere you want. We'll be right there. We got bartenders on the floor. We got bartenders behind the bar. Everybody's bartender there, so we just swap it. Sometimes you work on the floor or behind the bar. But the hospitality is there. We focus on it. We try to take care of whoever walks into that building.
That's a pretty cool concept that everybody that works there is a bartender. I haven't heard of that one before, but I always thought it'd be good to cross-train everybody That way, when it hits the fan, then people can step in, or they know how to what a bartender needs, and when they're in the peak times and stuff like that. That's a great concept.
Totally. And I think it's to be a bar that are focused more in like cocktails. No thinking. I mean, not putting the food away, because the food is pretty awesome. But you have this concept of ABV being a bar with really good food. So, our main, of course, what we sell most is alcohol, and having bartenders in the floor. I mean, that kind of like we're selling alcohol anyway, all around, and that's the main focus of the bar. So I think it's a pretty smart way to attack and to approach the concept of ABV. But yeah, so we'll switch around, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems to me like I know that education with bartenders is a big thing, and being able to communicate that education to the guests, it just makes sense. So that's a beautiful idea, man. I really like that idea.
I agree.
What got you into the hospitality business? Because we've talked a little bit before this podcast, and the places that you've worked in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a killer place. Oh yeah, that's a killer place. Like, you've worked in some pretty ridiculous places. But what originally kind of got you into the business, and what made you stay?
Cool. This is awesome. It's just how everything kind of like came to me, kind of like everything layered on my life. Like I said, I'm from Peru. My grandma used to have this little kiosk. So we used to sell fruits and candy and some on the weekend sandwiches or tamales or like agua fresca. So we always have this little kiosk. My grandma, that was literally my family income for my childhood. So I lived in a kiosk. That's where my life was. So always interacting with people. And then, but of course, family wants to get better. So I went to this technical institute in Peru, a private technical institute for 3 years. Then I graduated as an industrial mechanic. So I was working on different industries in Peru, and like a little bit of the mining as well, textile and fertilizer and beer bottle cups, all this stuff. And I got to the point that I got laid off in Peru, and one of my aunties, I have a couple of cousins living here in San Francisco. So their mom, my auntie, was like, hey, Enrique, you want to go to San Francisco? You haven't got a job in the past 3 months. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't speak the language. I want to follow what I study. I don't want to be like my cousins working as a runner or bus boys. That's not my thing. So, 4 months goes by, and I still couldn't find a job. And living with my grandma again, I was like, I love my grandma, but I was already 20 years old. So I didn't want to go home and sleep right next to my grandma. I didn't feel like I was already living by myself for the past 3 years. So per hour. My auntie was like, hey, I think I'm going to take your offer. Let me try to go to San Francisco. So I came here. And of course, my first gig was as a dishwasher, a Fresh Choice. I did it for a month. I hated it. It was like, this is not what I wanted to do. What am I my wishes? But I was doing the math in my head and was like, oh, I'm paying $5.25 per hour. Working for 8 hours. I got my $40. So I was doing the math and I was like, oh, that's what I was doing a week back in Peru. So actually, it's not that bad, but I hated it, like just doing anything, just washing dishes. So I decided to go to school. So I went to City College. In a month and a half, I learned how to use the kitchenwares, like, kitchen, plate, fork, spoons, napkins, and whatnot. So the next job I applied was a busboy, and I did a busboy at this restaurant called Maya Restaurant. So I worked there as a busboy. And then here and there, and one of my buddies, he's like, hey, they're looking for a bag at Lulu. And I was like, bar bag? What did that do? He's like, just help her behind the bar. So I went to Lulu, sat at the bar. I remember this guy, Moises, which actually he's still working for a Slanted Door group. So he was bartending there. And I sat at the bar and I say, hey, man, I heard you guys are looking for a bar back. He's like, yeah, okay. Who is your bar back? And that's the other guy, the Latino guy was like, the other bar back. I said, like, hey, buddy, what do you do? He's like, oh, I bring the ice, I take the plates, make the coffee, and refill the garnishes. Like, dude, I can do that. So I talked to Moses. It's like, hey, can I apply? Can I start working here? I mean, it's something that I can do. He's like, sure, come Saturday. So I came Saturday in the morning, and literally, they gave me a couple of days training. I got it. But once again, I feel lucky that I came in the right time. This was 99, 2000. Badass people behind the bar. Like, even Chris Berry, who owns 83 Proof, Mark Goldfine was there too, Moises, which is still there, John Guinea, which also part of owns Hub Distribution, the beer bar. So I start working there and I see these amazing people with a lot of charisma behind the bar. And that's what I feel like dragged me into it. I was in the service industry for 10 years of my life or 15 years of my life, but I never really had that smooth connections. I think it was maybe because of the alcohol, but that smooth connection from my bartenders to the guests. And I'm like, this is cool. I love this, like cheering with them. Everybody's having a good time. So I'm like, wow. So I keep going to City College and I just keep learning my English. And then as soon as I got better, they needed a bartender at Lulu during the day. And I said, I think I can do this. And I never left. I feel like that was the last time I applied to a job. And then what was the other restaurant? Another French restaurant, La Suite. And then that was my first really job, as a bartender. Because at Lulu, I kind of became a bartender. And then I started La Suite. And I feel that's when I start breaking the ice. It's like, okay, I got to think as a bartender now. And then I just explode after that. And I went to Bacar. And then I went to Range. And then I opened, and then, the Range, and then went to Tres Agaves. And then after Tres Agaves, went to Beretta. And then I opened Lamar, which was a big explosion in my career, being the bar stars in 2010. And then, so that's pretty much how I got myself dragged into this crazy business. I think was my mentors, the people that I've been working with in my path, and I see what they do, and I see that they're very professionals about it. And once again, I think that was the connection with the guests, and that makes me fall in love with this business. Taking care of people, showing them time. It's like, let me take care of this. Don't worry about it. And just the little details. And I think that's what I look up to these people, and then I, like I said, I fall in love with this business. I'm just like, I can do this.
No, I was the same way. I felt like I jumped behind the bar and I started tending bar, and it was no matter of time until I was completely in love with the business and hospitality in general. I get paid to make people happy every single day.
Totally, man. And while we're enjoying this, I'm like, this is fun. Yeah, people says you got to work tomorrow. Well, yeah, I have to work, or pretty much just have fun behind the bar. And of course, it doesn't have to be like I'm drinking all the time. Not necessarily. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But the whole point of just enjoying the whole, you come to a bar or a restaurant, it's because you want to have a good time. Yeah, some guys or some girls are having a bad day and why not? They don't want to talk to anybody. But I think that's the point of the hospitality again. I'm not going to bother you if you putting a barrier in front of us. I'm not going to try too hard to jump in and try to get you out of there. If you want to be there, be there. I'm not going to try to break this ice. But if I can see you're hesitating, let me give you a hand and I'm going to pull you in and let's have fun. But I think that's important, right? That's just to read your guests of how are they feeling, or what can you do to make them to feel better or make this experience amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If somebody comes in and they're not ready for that experience, there's nothing you can do. And if we are hospitality professionals, that would be counterintuitive to what we want to do. To drag someone in, kicking and screaming, and then they're just going to leave and say, I hate this place. I wasn't ready for it. And I am never going to come back. So I think that's a really good point you brought up. I think the first step is just, you got to connect. You got to be able to read your guests and just say, where are they headed? And
yeah, you want everybody to come back, and you want everybody to talk about their experience at the place with their friends, even a little now with the media, a little tag on Facebook, ABV was great. Oh, Arguello Margarita is amazing. Oh, the pie of Arguello and the service was incredible. I'm like, those little things, people read it and it's like, when you see that, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that restaurant. I gotta go and check it out. I haven't been there in 2 months. I haven't been there in whatever, or never been there. And of course, we're trying to, the people itself spread the word.
Do you have a solid definition that you use or a viewpoint you have about just hospitality in general? What's your viewpoint or take on hospitality?
Once again, I feel reading your guests. You have your point of sequence of greeting somebody when you walk into the place. I think that's important, right? You give you the menu. Hi, welcome to Arguello. Welcome to ABV. Here is a glass of water. This is the menu. Let me know if you have any questions. And then, see what they do. They're always looking to the bar, even though they have a menu. but they always look into the bar. Some people don't read, right? So they're just looking at the bar and it's like trying to recognize their bottles. And I think interacting is important. I think, like I say, if you can read their minds, if you can just like be one step in front of them, like refilling their water every time that you see like less half, or like if they need some napkins and you can see them then looking around, or like if they get up, they're looking around and we don't have signs for the bathroom. So I know you're looking for the bathrooms. Looking for the bathrooms, sir. Yeah, this way, just that little step ahead of their needs. I think pleasing them without even them to ask, I think that's a very key. Or like, how do you serve like a pint of beer? Like, you got to put the handle close to them, like point it to them. And then if you repeating that beer, I know if you left-handed or right-handed. So I make these little moves very, like in a sneaky way. Like, I don't want you to see, but when you look at your setting, you're like, oh my God, how did this guy know? But I think that's little details in every single step, very important.
Yeah, and I think that's one way of separating decent service from fantastic service, is just having that consciousness of like, okay, I'm looking at him or this person and reading what they're doing, and that so far I know like a formula. I remember at one of the places I was working at, this gentleman would his sequence was he was going to order food, he was going to have 2 beers, and he was going to end his day with a shot of Fernet. That was his whole thing. And then I could predict that, you know, when he was down to a quarter, refill his beer. And don't even say anything, just give it to him. And then when he was done eating, sneak that shot of Fernet in, and he never even had to ask. And he became a regular pretty quickly after that point.
Right, exactly. Details like that, man. I think once again, everybody has their own. I personally, sometimes I like to change why I order, because sometimes I don't want you to surprise me with a beer, because I don't want to have a beer today. I want to have a glass of rosé. So if you just kind of like say hello and with a glass of water and like, what are you in the mood for today? I mean, that's more than enough. You don't have to read my mind and have me a beer, but some people love that. So if you can adjust yourself for every single type of guest that you have, literally that's what we do. We are there for our guests. So we have to do whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable, whatever it is.
That's what we do. The whole focus of our job is to make that happen. Absolutely. So in this industry, we go out a lot to eat, and, you know, because that's where our friends are working, and, you know, that's what we do, because we got to be out in the city and just try everything we can. Do you remember kind of one of the best experiences you've had with hospitality?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. And I think once again, is when we go visit our friends, that can be a little unfair because they will treat you too good. But that's actually one thing that I have learned when I have friends coming over at the bar. I don't spend too much time with them because I know they come to see me or see friends, but at the same time, I don't want the other people that are not my friends feel jealous or feel like I'm left in behind. And I think we talked about this before with another my colleagues, and we're like, when friends come over, actually sometimes they can be a little difficult, sometimes they can be really needy, but hopefully they understand. So I'll give you a beer and a shot or whatever you want, and I'll just like, I'm moving on. I'm gonna take care of other people that are at the bar, kind of like, you know, wandering around and feeling like, who are these people? Who are these guys? Yeah, whatever. They're coming from New York and they're friends of us, but I should not take time off you and me because of those guys. You know, they will understand. Guess first. But yeah, and I think Julio Bermejo is one of those amazing guys that has the best hospitality in the business. And of course, every time I go out, I do look for what else do I need to improve myself. The little technique of you ask for like a bottle of Calvados or whatever you want to taste and bring the bottle in front of you while you are sipping it. I think that's a very important key. I mean, you sipping your tequila or whatever it is, and then you're looking at the bottle. And that's one thing that, you know, Julio does. He just leaves the bottles in front of the bar. And that's what I do it all the time. I just like do it. You know, like somebody's tasting, somebody's wondering about it. Yeah, if you order out of your mind, I mean, like if you know what you're drinking, I know what you're drinking. But if you don't know what you're drinking, I'll just bring you a bottle that is new to you, and I just feel like I should put it in front of you for you to, you know, reach out and look at it and read the label or whatever it needs for you information to figure it out. But I think he's amazing in the business. But I think a lot of people there are so many bars and restaurants opening in the city. I feel like besides giving you a good product, I think the hospitality is kicking a itch, put a little another notch. I think it's very important to give the best hospitality you can for your bar to stand out. I mean, we know you can make cocktails. I know you can cook good food, but I think that experience is what people are needing. And, the other level of service. See Kevin Dietrich, PCH, putting these little personal napkins for everybody that show up there. I mean, like, that's pretty touchable. I mean, like, damn, man. Cool. Thank you so much. I feel special. And I think that's the key. You want to make your guests special. If it's your first time, if it's your second time, or you come there every week, whatever it is. But I want you to feel special because I think that's part of the hospitality business.
No, absolutely. And for people that don't know that the Kevin Dietrich thing, he has embroidered napkins with the person's initials that he keeps behind the bar. So if you're regular, he'll greet you with that napkin, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it's amazing touch of hospitality. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Him, Bermejo, top notch as far as just the experience goes.
I know. It's crazy. I remember I went to another restaurant. I went to Al's Place a few months ago with my buddy Marco. And the guy who was serving us, the whole knowledge that he had about the plates, about, the wine. I mean, it makes our night so smooth and very comfortable just because he had every single answer for our questions right there. So I think that's also very part of the hospitality, knowing your products very well. And when somebody have crossing a question, there is a beautiful answer and easy for your guests to understand what are they drinking or what are they eating. And I think that's important. There is a few places in the city for sure that I would recommend. I mean, go there for the hospitality. It's great.
ABV and Arguello, obviously.
We're doing what we can. And it's funny because every single neighborhood in the city, you have a different crowd. And that's very fascinating too. I mean, like, who comes to ABV? Who comes to Arguello? It's just like totally different mass of people, and then you just have to treat them differently. And then I feel like we just kind of like psychologists, like we have to adjust ourselves to every single type of people that we cross our paths and every day. And like, I think that's pretty exciting about our job too. It's like, who I'm gonna meet today? Who's gonna come to the bar today? That's part of excitement, I feel that's also like, I'm happy to go to work and I'm not frustrated. I was like, I gotta go to work. It's like, no, dude, when I go to work, who am I gonna meet? I mean, I even served the Peruvian president in Lamar in 2010, We used to close at 10 p.m. He used to call 10 to 10 and ask for, hey, can I speak to Enrique? I was like, oh, shoot, just president. It's like, oh, I'm coming with 15 people. I'm like, oh my God, yes, sir, of course. And we're like, dude, we close. What the heck? This guy just likes to walk in with 15 people. And I'm like, okay, just for a couple of dishes and a lot of pisco. He used to drink a lot. Alejandro Toledo, man, this guy. And it was like, of course, he's the president. What can we do, But it is what it is. I mean, once again, it's a beautiful business. And sometimes we have to walk the extra 2 miles for certain guests.
Yeah, but then you get cool stories like this. Like, yeah, the president of Peru calls me up 10 minutes before it closed or after. It's amazing.
It's like, damn it. Okay, cool. And I think that's, even though like we're talking about awards that, ABV wins here and there, I think like sometimes like little people that you meet, and I was at Lulu, man. My car got stolen across the street from the restaurant. I get out of work and my car was gone. I used to live in Concord at that time. It's like, shoot, how am I gonna get home? So I tried to adjust my life for the next 2 weeks. And that was this regular, Michael, forgot his last name, but of course he was loaded. He was drinking a Cristal every week, like 2 bottles of Cristal and whatnot. And after 2 weeks, he comes by and he's like, hey, what's up, Enrique? Oh, life is good, but my car just got stolen. He's like, no way, dude, what happened? So I told him what happened. Dude, next day he comes in, same thing, drinks his 2 bottles of Cristal with his girlfriend. And by that time he was leaving, he's like, Enrique, I have a gift for you. It's like, oh my God, what is it, man? I hope you like it. And he gives me a key of BMW, man. He's like, this is for you. I'm like, what? Yeah, dude, no, you've been so good to us all the time. And I have my car sitting on my garage and I don't use it. And I think you needed it. I'm like, no way. And I said, how much do I have to pay you? He's like, no, man, enjoy it. And I was a freaking BMW 89 325i. And I was like, really, buddy? So, yeah, I got a car for free one day. It's like, I mean, stories like that happens, man. Ryan left and we're like, what a crazy business. I mean, yes, I don't want to live this business. I'm gonna open my own bar eventually. But for now, I'm just having a good time.
No, that's beautiful, man. That's great. And it's amazing the stories you can hear from people that have been in this industry and love it and all that. There's so many great stories out there. But that one's pretty cool. A brand new, or got a BMW after your car got stolen. That's some serious love, man.
Dude, and I had a Honda Civic, dude. I'm like,
got upgraded like crazy, man.
yeah, thank you for stealing my car, you asshole.
Yeah, you should have somebody steal your BMW, see what happens next.
Oh, we see what's up, right?
Enrique comes rolling in on a Ferrari.
Oh, shit. You know, that's dope. Oh, yeah. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but no, it's cool. I was happy with my BMW.
That's beautiful, man. That's a great story. So let me ask you another question here, because I think that we could talk about this all day long, but is there any particular moment or experience that you had where you were able to give amazing experience to a guest? And I know we probably do this all day long, but is there any one particular one that kind of shines for you or you remember?
I don't think it's something like, oh my God, this thing happens to me one day. But if you come into the bar and like you are telling me that you're going to Peru, and I say, okay, where are you going? I'm going to Cusco. Okay, you know where to stay? No, give me 1 second. So I've done this before, and I contact my friends in Peru and it's like, hey, listen, I have these 2 people that are going there. I just met them. They're super cool. They just need a room to stay. Can you just rent them 1 room for a couple of days or 3 days? And they're like, sure, no problem. So I contact them, and then they go meet up and they have a place to stay for really inexpensive. And things like that has happened, you know, like I think that's another level of service right there. I mean, like if I have the chance to make it better, I will. If I know the people that I can connect you to, I will. I mean, that's what we're here. Once again, we only have one chance to do what we do in this life. And I feel like we should use everything we have for our friends or for our guests, you know? Like, it's just such a beautiful thing just to meet people in this world that are willing to help or like willing to be your service. I mean, I'm impressed sometimes when I go and I meet people like Julio Bermejo or Kevin or Jennifer Kalu, you know, like this is beautiful people in this world and we need more of this.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely. No, that's fantastic, man. Is there anything like when you go out to eat, because this is something that happens to me, where you see something and it just kind of drives you a little bit crazy, either like, you know what I mean? Like, if you go out to another bar and something happens, you're just like, man, there's no need for that. Any kind of pet peeves for you in regards to service and hospitality?
I don't want to throw a bunch of the restaurants that I've been and I'm just like, what the heck are you doing, dude? I mean, sitting at the bar and you playing with your phone right in front of me. And once again, I'm fine right now, but there's a guy behind me that wants a drink and you are with your phone right in front of us. Like, not even going to the corner and hide it. No, right in front of your well. You pull out your phone and you've been looking at your screen for the past 2 minutes. That is not cool at all. And that's a cool places, you know? Like, yeah, I mean, it's like that's like a big no-no. Or the thing is, a bunch of restaurants open right and left, bars and restaurants open right and left. And I think bartenders are really needed in San Francisco. And if there's a lot of bar backs that they are not ready for a bartender yet, but if that's all they can get, they're gonna make them bartender in an okay place. And then what they think of service, I don't think they're ready for it. I think maybe for them, like knowing a history of the old fashioned or a history of Manhattan is what they're making a bartender. And I think that's wrong. I mean, yes, you do have to know the histories of cocktails. Yes, you do. You do need to have your product knowledge. Get it. But that's not it. I think there is many other things than just knowledge of being a bartender. But yeah, there's a bunch of other pet peeves that I don't like in bars. It's like when you see the sticker on the fruits, you know, I'm like, can I just go and pinch the sticker out of there? Because I should not show in the sticker on your full bowl fruit that you're about to do a twist for my cocktail.
Well, and you know they haven't washed it if the sticker's still on there.
Obviously, you haven't washed it. It has a sticker on it, so you're already garnishing. I mean, what the heck? I was a month ago, I think, Dave Nipol sent us this picture of a gin and tonic with a lime or lemon, I think it was, with a sticker inside the glass. Oh no. Yeah, exactly. We're like cracking up. It's like, oh my God, these kids don't even know But we're just laughing about it because at this point, well, you know, some of them don't pay too much attention. And once again, I think besides your knowledge, I think details of paying attention to details are really, really important. Wash your hands as much as you can. You know, don't have your arms crossed behind the bar. Just don't play with your hair. Don't play with your nose ring or, you know, when you're behind the bar. I mean, they do, man. You can just, like, every time I go to a bar or a restaurant, it's like, I want to enjoy my time there, but at the same time, I can't help it. I'm just looking at everybody, what they do and how did they, I don't know. Just like little details are like, okay, that's never going to do. Take notes when I open my bar. That's no. And I feel like sometimes there is too many rules to tell people when they come to work for you. I don't want to bombard you with so many rules. But I feel some of those rules is kind of like no rules. It's kind of like it is what it is.
Common courtesy, just like...
Yes. Common criticism. Yeah, dude. Like, don't touch your nose ring while you're working. You know, like, this is... oh, my God. When these kids come with their shirt all wrinkled, it's like, dude, can you iron your shirt? It's like, just a couple of seconds. I mean, like, I iron my shirt every day, and I just don't like when these kids come with all their wrinkled shirts. It's like, man, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, this, like, once again, this, I don't know if I'm going to call it a millenniums or not, but there's a bunch of these kids that they think like it's their party time when they're serving or when they're working. They start singing in the corner and laughing out loud. I mean, don't get me wrong, just please have fun because this is a fun industry. But once again, your guest is the most important thing here. Not you or what happened to you in the weekend. You always got to keep aware and keep alert of whoever's walking into the building because that first impression that they get is what they're going to leave with. So if you just literally fucking around in the corner and a guest comes in and just wandering for 20 seconds and nobody says anything to them, that's a red flag. You can't do that. This is not what we're here for. But yeah, man, there's so many little pet peeves here and there. I'm actually working with partners, right? You know, my colleagues. They have their own way to make drinks, and why not? Some of them are pretty sloppy and pretty dirty a section. And I'm like, dude, that's not cool, man. Clean your stuff, you know? Like, don't be messy. But it's just a little details here and there. Like, we always try to improve. And we talk about this not to critique, well, not to put them down. It's just like, I don't think this is good. Think about it. Let's get better. And all we just wanted to do is just get better to each other. I think we learn from each other every day, all the time, because some of my colleagues can connect with customers a little better. So I'm like, how do you do that? Okay. I'm just always paying attention to what you do, how you interact, and I'm learning. But at the same time, if I have something to say, I will say it to you. So next time I feel like you should not do it.
Let me ask you another question here, because you're hiring people for Arguello, and you've been a bar manager and been looking for bartenders in the past. Am I correct? So how do you, I mean, other than knowing the people, because I know that's usually the number one way of hiring bartenders is just by knowing them. But is there anything that you do that kind of picks out if they have that kind of education or knowledge around hospitality that they're not going to do these things? Like, how do you train that?
That's hard, man. That is so funny because I work in the last 6 years. I have worked in Puerto 27 and Pacifica and Arguello in the Presidio. And these two neighborhoods are like literally nobody goes. I mean, what I'm saying nobody goes is like none of my friends goes there. So Pacifica is just the area of Pacifica, and most of the people that come there are living from the area. And
very quiet community.
Yeah, exactly. And that's totally different neighborhood, right? And the quality of people that I meet behind the bar, it's hard to find it. And also in Arguello, even though it's in San Francisco, but it's in the Presidio, you know, people is like, oh, that's too far. I know that's why you don't come, but do it 7x7, this beautiful city. What the heck? It's not that far. But I get it. It's out of your area. And it's, once again, it's hard for me to find, you know, literally quality bartenders. But with that being said, I just need quality people. So I think that's, and I talked to the GM of Arguello, what we have built in Arguello is it's kind of like an institution. We're building like a college for people to want to graduate as a bartender. So, like I say, we're spreading really thin in this business right now. If you are a bar back, okay, I hire you because I need a bartender for the morning. And I think like it's an everyday teaching these kids about something, how important it is to be organized, how important it is to be clean, how important it is to wipe down as soon as somebody leaves your bar, how important it is to wash your tools, how important is you wash your bowls of fruit, how important is your shirt to be no wrinkle. These little things, and then once they get that, okay, we can move a little more into knowledge. How is your knowledge about classic cocktail? And it's a constantly education that you have to put in these alcoholic kids, because I feel like they're all in the 20, 22, 23, I'm almost 40, but I feel like it's a constant education that we have to talk to them. And some of them, they want to spend time behind the bar for many more years. And some of them, they are not thinking of staying at the bar. So for them, it's a little harder because their mind are not here. Their mind are going for graphic design or whatever they're studying. But for me, this is my career, bro. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So if I'm going to bag you, telling you things every day, but I'm not telling you because I want you to tell, I want to tell you things. I just wanted to be this place better. And I think if that reflects to our guests, the guests will appreciate more of what we do. I mean, we have the passion already. We're here. So now we just got to performance a little better. We just got to tune it up a little bit better so we can have an excellent experience for our guests coming to us. But yeah, it's a little harder, you know, and that's literally what doesn't happen at ABV. All these people that work over there, 90% of the staff at ABV are bartenders because we're going to be bartenders for the rest of our life. So that mentality of serving or mentality of details at ABV is a different level. I mean, because the basic, you already know it, buddy. You know, that's why you work here. But now we're trying to tune it up a little bit so we can be even better, get to perfection, right? Like we try to get there. Of course, it's going to be hard or maybe impossible to get there, but we try hard. We do like every week we have a little meetings. We call it the cocktail labs. So every week we have these cocktail labs and we work on cocktails and we talk about little details of what happened in the week and why not. And then on Arguello, we have this kind of like building the stuff to get a little better. I think it's a lot of more drains me to just like keep talking about the same thing, And sometimes when you talk to them, they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, no, dude, it's not because of me, dude. It's a team. We're going to get better. And believe me, at this point, Arguello is in much better hands than what it was when we started. And I think it also has to do with GM that we have now. She's pretty cool. She's a very strong woman, and it's a lot of things for her to handle. So we do what we can, and the staff are very green, but we're rolling it. It's a good experience, man. It's a good experience. All these restaurants that I have working and keep looking up to and keep learning, it's going to help me out when I open my own. For sure. Yeah,
well, you're going to have to let me know when that happens because I'd love to talk to you again about that.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Sooner or later.
So you have a pretty green team, it sounds like, over Arguello. And you have so much information and knowledge about hospitality and service and just keeping the guests first. I mean, it seems like what it's always coming down to is if you sacrifice the guest experience, you're doing yourself a disservice in this business. But is there any one thing, like if you could teach them, all those green people, like any one thing about hospitality or a handful of things about how to take their hospitality to the next level, what would you say to them? What would you hope they would learn?
Being humble, I think it goes down to it. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much you know. Once again, I think every guest that you have at your bar or restaurant, they're different. And if some of them wants you to teach them about history of cocktails, go for it and talk about it. But some of them, they're not willing to do that. And if you're just going to keep talking about it, you're going to make them boring. You just got to read what they want. And I think it's just like putting yourself, you are a service. You're in the service industry. So you're going to serve them according to what they need and just make them be your guests.
That's cool. No, there was a Danny Myers quote that I always remember. And it's hospitality starts in the back. It doesn't originate in the front of the house. So basically how you treat each other is how you're going to go to the floor. You know, so if you take that hospitality mindset, like you just said, and focus it on training as well. Like, where are they? What are they ready for? What they don't want to hear? I haven't heard that take on that before, and that's really cool, man. Being able to kind of inspire somebody like that in the direction where they're at.
Friend of mine used to say, like, the standard of your bar is as the weakest bartender you have. So if you have a really bad bartender, your bar is going to be shitty. So I think that's very important, and we have to teach, once again, the weakest that we have. And you don't have to be an amazing bartender yet, but if you are willing to get there, that's enough. That's totally enough. I mean, I can teach you here and there a few things, but I think you have to be open for it. You have to be willing to learn all this, and I hope it's not a pain for you to learn. And because I feel some people are like, oh, what am I gonna serve you? It can be sex, it can be racist, it can be money, it can be whatever the status bothers you, should not bother you. Otherwise, don't be here. Don't be in the industry. Because I don't care where you're from or who you are. I'm going to serve you because you are my guest. And I'm going to do everything I can to make your experience amazing. A bunch of these people, man, they just treat other kids, oh, because there's a kid. It doesn't matter who these kids are. It's just like, we're here to serve people, and that's where we're getting paid for it.
No, I feel you, man. I have the same exact viewpoints, and I think, the pet peeves are pretty much 100% aligned. It's just great to hear it from someone else. I don't feel like I'm so crazy anymore.
No, man, it's just funny. I mean, like, it gets to the point, to details of the garnishes. Yeah, sometimes you see garnishes like, I think that's a little too much, bro. Just trying to put 3 garnishes in one drink. Maybe too much. Maybe chop it up a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Or, some people try too hard.
Or don't try hard enough, and you get the brown lime in your margarita.
That's the other end. I was like, God damn it, could you just, let's agree on something. I think we can just like go meet in the middle and we'll be just fine. Focus more on hospitality, because there is a bunch of talented people out there to make good cocktails. Yeah, sure, you can use nitrogen, you can use vinegar, whatever you want. Yeah, I bet your drink is going to be great. Cool. But that's not it. I think the atmosphere of the place, the smell of the place, the sound, the lighting, the way people talk to you, the way people talk to each other. I think that's why we need to focus now.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So I need to, unfortunately, wrap this up, because I know I could talk to you forever about service and hospitality. But is there anything that you're kind of working on that you want to share with everyone? Anything you want to promote that you're working on or anything?
Well, right now I just keep taking notes. I'm working on opening my own bar. And once again, I think the big difference between the bar that I want to open is focusing on these little details that not so many bars have looked into it. Speaking about the lighting, the smell, the noise. And you go to different bars in the city and you have, oh, I love the lighting here. This is beautiful lighting. I don't like the color, but the lighting was great. And then you go to this other place. Oh my God, the noise was perfect. Well, I don't know what speakers they have. Let's take notes. That was great. But to have everything in one place, I think that's the key, and that's very important. And hopefully we'll open in the next year or two. So we just got to find a good spot that we're happy with. And I think we have all the tools for us to make the bar a very successful bar.
Beautiful. So this kind of brings me to the last point here. And that is, if people want to reach out to you or follow some of the work that you're doing, or give you money for opening your own bar, what's the best way to kind of reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Very simple. My email is enrique.sanchez@life.com. I usually work on Arguello on Thursday and Friday night. If you want to see some of those cocktails, actually, we're changing the menu next week for the summer, which I always love. New menus, gets me a little excited, and something else. Other products to move on and keep talking. Once again, keep educating my staff about new liqueurs that we're using or new techniques that we're using and whatnot. But and then I'm at ABV Monday and Tuesdays, man. That's my 2 days at ABV. Sometimes I pick up Saturdays and Sundays, maybe, because a lot of my colleagues like to travel. But usually I'm at ABV Monday and Tuesdays. That's kind of like my set schedule. Actually, Saturday brunch at Arguello is pretty fun. I'm there Saturday brunch. And when it's sunny, it just gets beautiful out in the patio. Super gorgeous building, 1776. One of the oldest building in San Francisco. We have some history behind it. Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, no, and that's a great neighborhood. I love the Presidio, especially when it's warm out. I think it's one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in the city.
Totally. You have a great view, a lot of things to do. You can go for a hike, you can go to museum, you can just chill in the grass. You can go bowling. You can play tennis. Oh, my God, man.
So many cool things to do. Well, thank you so much for your time. And we'll definitely keep in touch, man. I'd like to hear about when you find your spot and when you get open and stuff, man. I'd love to follow that.
Sounds great, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
So thanks again to Enrique Sanchez for joining us on the podcast. And as you can see, he's worked at some of the best places in San Francisco and he continues to do so. I'm really happy to hear that he's kind of training the next generation of bartenders on really focusing on hospitality and the little simple things that really make such a big difference to our guests. And if you haven't heard, over at on our 100th episode, we made a big announcement that we're now selling bar tools online. So if you're interested in buying some bar tools, supporting the show, head on over to Amazon and look up Top Shelf Bar Supplies. So thanks again, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Cheers.
Never miss an episode by subscribing in iTunes or YouTube. And as always, check out the show notes by clicking on the right.